Okay, this is the lesson on the surface area of cylinders and cones. And since these two shapes kind of go together, that's why we put them together in this lesson. So I do have a cylinder. This is the shape of a cylinder. You'll have a regular height and then a radius. And then a cone is very much like a pyramid. They have a regular height and then they have a slant height. And you might have to use Pythagorean's theorem in order to find one or the other. So let's go to the formula card. Let's fill these two in. And they're just separated on your card a little farther than I thought here. So here is my cylinder formula, just putting that there to keep you focused on surface area. Here's my cylinder, and this is my cylinder formula. And so the cylinder formula for surface area, you have two circles, one on the bottom, one on the top. So you have 2 pi r squared, that takes care of your circles. And then the piece that goes around the cone, or sorry, the cylinder that kind of covers it from front to back, that is 2 pi r h. That's that piece. So it's kind of like a rectangle. It is a rectangle if you fold it out. And that formula gives you that. The generic formula is this guy right here, which is 2 times the area of the base. Got it. C stands for circumference, which is 2 pi r. That's the formula for circumference. And then times height. So it's kind of like this is your length. Or sorry, that's your base. That's your height when you're finding the shape or the surface area of that rectangle that goes around a cylinder. The other one we're going to do is cones, and that is at the bottom of your card, possibly. Just check. And then the formula for this is really reminiscent of your pyramids. So all the pyramids had area of the base and then plus, and then it was NSL. I'm sorry, 1/2 NSL. For a cone, it is the area of the base, pi r squared, and then the rest of it is pi r slant. And that'll take care of that round, the shape that goes around it. When you fold it out, it kind of looks like this. Kind of looks like a, I'm not sure what I would call that actually, but that's what it looks like. So this is the formula to find that part. So I'm just going to follow our formulas and we're going to try a couple of problems. First one says find the surface area of this cylinder. You're going to find that cylinders are pretty straightforward. So this is supposed to be 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So 2 pi, my r is 4 squared plus 2 pi, we just said it was 4, and the height is 5. So pretty straightforward. We're just going to type that one in. 2 times pi times 4 squared, and then adding that to 2 pi times 4 times 5. This looks like my surface area is about 226.19 and meters squared. Next one says, can you find the height of a cylinder that has a surface area of 157.08 and a radius of 2.5? So I'm going to write out my surface area formula again, which is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. And we're going to put in all the numbers that we already know. Excuse me, 157.08 and then 2 pi. We know our r, which is 2.5 squared plus 2 pi, 2.5, and then an h. So lots of decimals going on here, but we know how to solve. So have some confidence when we're solving. We've got 157.08. We're going to figure out what this is, which is just some number. So 2 pi and times 2.5 squared. All of that just became 39.27. And then we've got a 2, a pi, and a 2.5. So 2 and pi and 2.5, and that gives me about 15.71 h. So just doing an algebra, we're going to subtract this over 157.08, and we're going to minus the 39.27. Leaves me with 117.81. And the last thing we're going to do is just divide. So dividing by 15.71 leaves me with a height of about 7.5 meters. There we go. 2 more that are cones. So the first one is just find the surface area, just practicing using the formula for a cone. So we've got pi r squared plus and then pi r l. So pi and then that's a 6, FYI. So squared plus and then pi, 6, and slant, which we don't have. We have height, but we don't have slant. So I'm going to take that off to the side. I'm going to put a 6. I'm going to put an 8. And we're going to do Pythagorean's theorem in order to find out the slant. So slant, that's an L. 6 squared plus 8 squared. So 36 plus 64 gives me 100. So I'm going to square root 100, and I'm going to get a slant of 10. Now we can just plug all of that in. So pi times 6 squared plus pi times 6 times 10, which is about 301.59 meters squared on that one. Last one, you've got just two shapes put together, a stubby little cylinder and then a cone on top of that. So surface area is, I've got the cylinder on the bottom, which is 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh. This is for the cylinder. Then we've got the cone, and the cone's formula is the area of the base, so that's pi r squared, and then the pi rl. So 2 pi, and the radius is 5 squared plus 2 pi, again 5, and the cylinder height is a 2. And then we've got the cone, so pi 5 squared plus pi 5 and slant, which is 13. What I haven't written yet is the where they overlap. So they overlap at the top of the cylinder, which is a circle, and they overlap at the bottom of the pyramid, which is another circle. So I can either do the subtract and take 2 circles off, or I'm just going to cross this off because this is 2 circles, 2 pi r squareds. So I'm just going to take that out and not do it. And I'm taking that out because that is the overlap that they have. So again, they overlap at the top of the cylinder, which is a circle, and they overlap at the bottom of the cone, which is also a circle. So I could either subtract 2 circles off of here, 2 pi r squareds, or I can just cross this off because that is 2 pi r squared. So I'm just going to get rid of that and do the rest. So I've got 2 pi times 5 times 2, and I've got pi times 5 squared, and I've got pi times 5 times 13. This looks like I got about 345.58 centimeters squared. So that is your lesson on cones and cylinders. A little more straightforward than working with the pyramids and the prisms.